What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the COTACast. My name is Bermudez. I'm the host of the Craft of the Air podcast, the aviation podcast that really just expands your knowledge. In each and every episode, join me and my guests as we explore the untold world of aviation together. I'm so glad that you guys are tuned in for another episode. It's been quite a while since we've recorded an episode of COTACast. We let the holidays kind of settle and get through that whole bit, but we couldn't I just couldn't pass up this opportunity to write an episode in light of everything that's going on with the 37 MAX 900, Alaska Airlines, and United coming into the picture with this, and some very interesting uh, developments in this whole MAX 9 saga. You know, so many people I see criticizing the airworthiness directive and this order to ground the MAX once again. And let me just start this episode off by saying I can't be a bigger supporter of Boeing than I already am and continue to be. But it's becoming almost comical with this aircraft. As a maintenance engineering professional, I have to say that this is becoming quite comical. You know, the airworthiness directive part of it, and we go into airworthiness directives. Many people listening may not even be familiar with what an airworthiness directive is, or many people may not know entirely what an airworthiness directive is, but it is to ensure the safety of air travel, and particularly after an unsafe condition has occurred. This is something to rectify an unsafe condition. And we look into airworthiness directives and to actually unpeel the layers of an AD to see why it's so important for us to have this AD in place for this aircraft until we can sort out, investigate, and come to terms with what is causing the fault, or in this case, the blowout of this glass door plug. We have this serene setting in the sky, so to say, and these types of events are, the serene skies, they mask the inherent complexities and the risks of everyday aircraft. But it only comes to full light when the media exposes such a large situation. And don't get me wrong, this was significant, to say the least. This recent stark reminder from this Alaska Airlines Boeing 737 MAX 900 that turned this, really, it was a routine flight into a nerve-wracking ordeal. This is challenging people's and ours, even as industry professionals. They're challenging our perceptions of aviation safety, not only in the United States, but globally. This incident is a crucial example of why airworthiness directives are more than just a bureaucratic mandate. They're really the backbone of aviation safety, as I've mentioned in multiple episodes of the COTACast. You know, Look, when we think about ADs, we we think about something that is in place to protect the safety of air travelers and aviation professionals. Airworthiness directives, they're they're not recommendations. They're legally enforceable rules issued by aviation authorities, you know, such as the FAA, EASA, the European Union for Aviation Safety. You know, these directives that we see, they result in a thorough investigation process after an unsafe condition has occurred. You know, investigations, we can look at manufacturer's data, service experience. One notable airworthiness directive that comes to mind, a very similar instance, and involving a Boeing aircraft again, It was the Boeing 787 Dreamliner, and this was back in 2013. And this 2013, this was an AED that was issued for the Dreamliner, and it was due to battery modifications. This was following several overheating incidents. You know, it's an example that goes to show that these ADs, these airworthiness directives, they cover a vast spectrum of issues. This can be anything from a minor maintenance task to significant design challenges and changes, as we see here. This is, and these are all things that will fundamentally influence aircraft safety standards globally. Now, we speak about this, and what happens once we have a potential risk identified in aviation. The regular consumer or air traveler may not be aware of this. What happens when maintenance personnel, maintenance operations, or engineering discovers a potential risk that has been identified in an aircraft that's being operated in that fleet? They have something called an NPRM, and this is a notice of proposed rulemaking. And this NPRM is something that a lot of people may not be aware of, but is often issued, and it invites comments from industry stakeholders. A lot of people may not be aware of this, and this collaborative process of the NPRM, this process ensures that we have a balanced approach to solving these safety issues. An excellent example of this AD process following the discovery of metal fatigue in older 737NG models. It's intricate balancing of safety imperatives, and then you have this mix with technical and economic realities of the implementation. I just realized that I didn't do the opening, but I just went in with this one. This episode of the COTACast is brought to you by Craft of the Air. Are you stuck on ideas? You're looking to facilitate maintenance ideas, general maintenance consulting, tutoring, and general aviation maintenance services in the New Jersey, New York, CT area. COTA is a second you when you need it in aviation maintenance. You will have to check out that website and discover everything that Craft of the Air can do for you in aviation. Doesn't matter where you're located, not even New Jersey, New York, CT areas. We know a guy wherever you are at. Trust me, I know a guy. You're gonna have to check out that Craft of the Air website. It's your second you for anything in aviation maintenance. You're gonna have to visit www.craftoftheair.com. Again, that's www.craftoftheair.com today and learn everything COTA can do for you. Craft of the Air, our craft is of the air. So, jumping back into it, there have been several ADs that have had long-lasting marks in aviation history. One of the most significant was the AD issued after the Aloha Airlines Flight 243 incident. This is back in 1988. For aviation professionals and people that are regular watchers of air disasters, Aloha Airlines Flight 243 was a pretty bad reminder of everything that could possibly go wrong. In this incident, we had a large section of the fuselage which tore away mid-flight, and this was due to metal fatigue. This led to enhanced requirements for those older aircraft inspections. And another notable AD was that followed this disaster of Aloha Airlines 243 in 1988. In 1989, in Sioux City, United Airlines Flight 232 crashed. And this led to the redesign of hydraulic systems to prevent total loss in case of an engine failure. You know, there's so many others, but these two ADs have rectified immediate safety issues. And those two specific ADs, the reason why I picked them is they led to more robust and resilient aircraft designs. Unfortunately, more times than not, and what many people don't want to hear is that in aviation, sometimes disasters have to happen for us to see changes in engineering designs and to make, strides and advances in safety. Unfortunately, like many other systems in engineering, disasters and fatalities occur before we perfect the operations and the processes. You know, when when we think about airworthiness directives, many people ask this question: are the ADs enough? Or should there be a more proactive measure to ensure aircraft safety? Nah, you while you have an airworthiness directive being so crucial, there is a growing call for more proactive safety measures in aviation. Many people argue that relying on these reactive measures, like ADs issued after the incident, might not be sufficient in addressing potential risks. Advocates for changing suggest that incorporating, predictive and analytics and more robust real-time monitoring, they could preemptively identify and mitigate risks. You know, the the only thing that we have, the only problem that I foresee with this and people advocating towards this is, this type of approach will also raise concerns about feasibility. And what comes with that is costs and privacy. You know, this, recently on this Alaska Airlines Boeing 737 MAX 900, this aircraft that experienced this really harrowing incident, it's shedding light on this ongoing challenge or the challenges in aviation safety. And it's just shedding light on it now because the major news outlets are covering. This jetliner, this Alaska Airlines jetliner, was en route from Oregon, and it suffered this fuselage blowout. This was precisely 7 minutes post takeoff. This whole thing led to a dramatic emergency landing. Thank God, none of the 171 passengers and 6 crew members were seriously injured. But and that's the most important thing that we can take out of this. But this incident, this event adds a new chapter to the troubled history of the Boeing Maxes. Previously grounded worldwide following 2 fatal crashes. Insignificant developments following this Alaska Airlines incident. Now, United Airlines had the same configuration and same model. So they said, you know what, we're going to have to go inspect these. United Airlines also uncovered loose bolts in the door plug installation of its Boeing 737 MAX fleet during its inspections. This is separate from Alaska. And this is very troubling. This discovery, it provides potential clues into the cause of this fuselage blowout. And I might add that United's proactive stance in conducting these thorough inspections, this really underscores the industry's commitment to safety. These findings, while very alarming, I would say, while these findings are very alarming, they're crucial for understanding and resolving safety concerns associated with the 737 MAX family, particularly the MAX 900 door plug installation, which is now under intense scrutiny. You know, when we speak about the grounding of this aircraft has led to, it's led to intensive inspection processes, right? The United Airlines team of engineers, they meticulously, checked this affected area, and they're currently still inspecting that door plug area. They did this by removing the interior panels and the seats to access and verify the installation of the door and the frame hardware. Now, this level of detail in the inspections, including checking the seal and the additional structure of the door plug, this highlights the aviation industry's dedication. We must have more periodic and regular inspections like this, particularly for these MAX models, this MAX family. It's very evident that we must constantly, continuously inspect the airframe and systems for faults. I hate to say it. I hate to say it. And this has had global repercussions and regulatory actions that have just sounded far beyond the United States and the FAA's control. The impact of this Alaska Airlines incident, it's resonated globally already. EASA, the European Aviation Safety Agency, and India's Aviation Authority, they followed the FAA's lead, requiring the inspection and grounding of the 737 MAX 900s in their regions. We're speaking about Europe and India, one of the largest aviation markets in the world. And while this coordinated international response showcases, really the global aviation community's, unified commitment to safety, that really the discovery of the door plug from the Alaska Airlines flight by the NTSB, that provided one of the most critical pieces of evidence and really aiding and piecing together, the puzzle of this incident. Now, this is very interesting because when we're speaking about the investigation process, it's very important for us to gather what was occurring inside that flight deck prior to the incident. And a concerning to say the least, a concerning revelation emerged when it was found that the voice recorder from Alaska Airlines, from that flight, it was wiped. We can't hear it. It doesn't exist. That data was wiped. And this is just a huge setback for investigators. This incident has now reignited the discussions about the NTSB's recommendations to extend the minimum recording time on the aircraft to 25 hours. There's absolutely no reason why this wasn't already enacted. I mean, the FAA's reluctance for this, they say citing cost concerns. This highlights the ongoing debate between safety enhancements and financial implications in the aviation industry. So now we're putting a price tag on lives. The FAA did have a response. In response to the incident, the FAA took a very swift action in grounding Boeing 737 MAX 900 jets for inspection. And this emergency directive affecting approximately 171 aircraft globally. This illustrates the rigorous safety standards governing, aviation. The NTSB, or the National Transportation Safety Board, also initiated an in-depth investigation, and this is focusing on the paneled overhead exit door that was dislodged. And by the way, which is expected to yield crucial insights into the aircraft's structural integrity. Boeing engineers, Are you waiting? This situation is exemplifying how airworthiness directives are often born from unexpected incidents leading to enhanced safety protocols. You like how I bring that all round circle towards the end? But wait, there's more. That fallout of the incident, it's been significant. As we've all been seeing in the news and media, Alaska Airlines had to ground its entire fleet of 65 MAX 9s. And this, of course, is resulting in numerous flight cancellations and passenger disruptions. Alaska is not alone in this in this fallout. United Airlines, another major operator of the MAX 9s, they also had to ground their fleet, and this is affecting operations considerably. The incident, it's reignited another discussion when you think about it, and this discussion about the safety of the Boeing MAX aircraft. This is challenging the aviation industry, to kind of reassess and potentially reinforce safety measures. Despite this commendable safety record that we have in the United States, the U.S. airline operators, with really no fatal crashes since 2009. Events like this remind us of really the constant need for vigilance and improvement in aviation. It's interesting. As the aviation field continually evolves and we introduce new technologies and materials, these airworthiness directives will continue to grow in response to these challenges. The transition is more, I would say, digital and automated systems are likely to be the first ones that we see aviators focusing more on. Potentially software, cybersecurity aspects of aircraft. And really, as we enter an era of increasing environmental consciousness, ADs might also play a role in ensuring that the aircrafts meet specific environmental standards. It we Boeing did have something to say to all of this in a recent town hall meeting. Boeing CEO Dave Calhoun addressed the Alaska Airlines incident, and he emphasized on the company's commitment to ensuring, such an event, quote, can never happen again, end quote. This is by CEO of Boeing, Dave Calhoun. And Mr. Calhoun really acknowledged a mistake in the incident. Mr. Calhoun assured full transparency in the investigation process, and he also stated that Boeing's dedication to working closely with the NTSB and the FAA to identify the root cause of this fuselage panel detachment. Calhoun's message, I think, underscores the gravity of the situation and Boeing's resolve to maintain the highest safety standards, really recognizing the profound impacts of such incidents, and the impacts that they have on the passengers. What about the crew? What about the impact it has on public trust in the aircraft? The incident placed Boeing in really a critical position, not only to identify and rectify the technical issues, but really now they have to also rebuild trust within airline passengers, and the flying public. Boeing CEO Dave Calhoun, he openly discussed the challenge Boeing faces in reassuring its customers, and he really applauded the swift and decisive action of Alaska Airlines in grounding their fleet and that skilled response of the crew during that emergency incident. And that really should be applauded. You know, as we come towards the end here, in wrapping it up, because there's just so many developments into this, and this is just such a critical aviation story. We had recent developments which have further exasperated the narrative surrounding this Alaska Airlines incident. Now, you got to listen to this very carefully. You listening? David, you listening? Get this. Spirit Aero Systems. Spirit Aero Systems is the manufacturer of this door plug that was involved in this mid-air blowout. Spirit Aero Systems was the subject of a class action lawsuit filed just a few weeks prior to this incident. This is critical. They were alleging sustained quality issues in their products. This was just weeks before this incident. This revelation, along with the fact that Spirit Aero Systems is the key supplier for Boeing, this is going to raise concerns about the broader implications for aviation manufacturing quality. This is the main supplier. Is the FAA, when we think about the FAA, is the FAA too influenced by aircraft manufacturers like Boeing, potentially compromising safety? There's been this ongoing debate about this relationship between the FAA and aircraft manufacturers. And many critics will suggest that this relationship might lead to regulatory capture, where the regulator becomes too accommodating to the industry that it's meant to oversee. Then we have the FAA supporters on the other hand, that they point out the agency's track record of stringent safety standards and independent decision making. It is essential for the FAA to maintain its autonomy to ensure the safety always takes precedent over commercial interests. I have to say that again. The FAA, they have to maintain this level of autonomy to ensure that safety always takes precedent over commercial interests. We have people's lives at stake. And speaking of people's lives, how much is someone's life worth after experiencing such a harrowing ordeal? Alaska Airlines' decision to offer passengers that were affected by this flight, they offered them a compensation of, get this, David, you listening? $1,500, $1,500. That's what Alaska Airlines offered the passengers. $1,500. This has sparked. I mean, how cheap do you have to be to offer passengers that were nearly killed, that experienced a near-death experience at 10,000 feet, that paid for their ticket, that paid for their check bags, and paid to get somewhere that they didn't get to? How do you put a $1,500 price tag on that? Let the lawsuits flood in. This $1,500 offer of compensation has sparked a debate about the evaluation of passenger trauma and the adequacy of such gestures in the face of potential long-lasting psychological impacts. People listening and watching, do you have any idea what it's like to be in an aircraft with nothing beside you, but all you see is the air? Aircraft traveling 200 and something, 300 miles per hour. The responses from the passengers and the legal implications for the airline are a telling reminder of the multifaceted consequences of such incidents occurring in aviation. What impact do incidents like the Alaska Airlines fuselage blowout have on public trust in air travel? You know, that fuselage blowout, it's initially, it's as it is now, shaking public confidence in air travel. But you got to think of it like this: they also provide an opportunity here. You have to see the good in this somehow in every situation. You know, it provides an opportunity for the aviation industry to demonstrate their commitment to safety and transparency, and that's what the public needs. You know, this rigorous investigation process, along with the clear communication from airlines and authorities, that will play a really vital role in restoring and maintaining the public's trust. You know, this this incident raises so many questions. You know, should airlines and manufacturers be held more accountable, perhaps even criminally, for lapses in safety? And many people ask, has the aviation industry been too slow to address the safety concerns of the 737 MAX series? You know, possibly. You know, when you think about it, the response of the Boeing 737 MAX series and the safety concerns, it's really been met with both praise and consideration and criticism, right? And you know, the critics will argue that the initial grounding and the subsequent investigations should have occurred sooner. If they occurred sooner, they could have potentially prevented past tragedies. However, supporters highlighting the rigorous and comprehensive nature of the review process that followed. These supporters emphasize that the industry's commitment is to safety, and it always has been. It's really a complex issue, and balancing the need for thorough investigation with the urgency of safety concerns is paramount. You know, this this journey and this episode that we have here, I'm a little bit over time here, but this journey through the intricate world of airworthiness directives, I really wanted to highlight what we have going on here. You know, this recent Alaska Airlines incident, it underscores an essential truth, a very essential truth. Aviation safety is dynamic. It's ever evolving and changing. You know, and as we stand at a real crossroad here, and everything that has been going on of innovation, safety, it's very clear that our commitment as aviation professionals to stringent safety standards, it must remain unwavering. You know, ask the listener and the viewer this question: what are your thoughts on the safety of this Boeing 737 MAX 900? Particularly in light of this recent Alaska Airlines incident. You know, when I think about it, it's as I said before, a complex topic. But this recent incident where a part of the fuselage blew out, it's raised a lot of new concerns. But we have to remember, and it's very important to remember, that the 737 MAX series, it underwent an extensive scrutiny and extensive improvements after its grounding in 2019. That is worth pointing out. And this particular incident, while it is very alarming, it is it is part of a larger context where air travel remains one of the safest modes of transportation, and it still is. And it will remain that way for a very long time, the foreseeable future. This also highlights, the importance of continuous monitoring and really the role of these airworthiness directives in promptly addressing unforeseen issues. As the skies above are not just a pathway for travel, but really, really a testament to human ingenuity, resiliency, and this undying quest for, I'd say, perfection. With each directive, each investigation, and implemented change, we're not just fixing aircraft. We're not just fixing aircraft. We are fortifying trust. We're enhancing safety. We're ensuring that every time a plane takes off to the skies and it carries passengers, that everything is as safe as possible. And this legacy of relentless pursuit, safety, that about wraps it up for this episode of the COTACast. And I really do appreciate you guys signing. It was quite a few weeks since we did our last episode. I had to jump on this one. Had a couple of people messaging me, asking me what's going on with the COTACast. That about wraps it up for this week's episode of the COTACast. Guys, if you haven't done so already, why don't you check out that Craft of the Air website? You can do it by checking out www.craftoftheair.com. Again, that's www.craftoftheair.com and get your free initial consultation today. Craft of the Air, our craft is of the air. Comments or suggestions about this or future episodes, let's get in touch. Visit that Craft of the Air website at www.craftoftheair.com. Go to contact and drop COTACast in the subject line. Thanks again for listening to today's episode of the COTACast. Be sure to follow and subscribe to the Craft of the Air Instagram, Twitter, YouTube channel for the latest COTACast and Craft of the Air updates. Please rate and review the COTACast, now streaming on Spotify, Apple, Prime, Pandora, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and all platforms. I mean, you just name it. You're going to have to send it to somebody you know. We were actually rated top 10 in the world for aviation podcasts. I'm just throwing that out there. And that happened months ago. I don't like to brag. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the COTACast. I hope you guys have a safe week and be seeing you soon.